You are teleported back to 2001 Terminator style, butt-ass naked, and end up in the middle of Times Square. What do you do or say to convince people you're not a stoned homeless person? I'd emulate old Biff and try to predict something that I knew would be coming up. They'd at least figure that I was either a time traveler or a psychic. And you're in Guantanamo. Throw every penny you have into Amazon and Tesla stock. Bitcoin too. You would be a multimillionaire today. You guys are all right. Don't go to work on September 11th. Didn't people warn about 9/11 but no one listened? Maybe they were time travelers. Did they just see me come out of a ball of electricity? You'll need no explanation. This is what I thought too. Just go, find a small container, start thanking people for their attention and ask for contributions. They'll promptly ignore you and maybe you'll get a few bucks from some tourists. I think it's just like, they blink and you're there. What's the date? I feel the city might be a little preoccupied. Either preoccupied with being cool and free and doing finger guns and enjoying life. Or, well let's say it's March sometime. Pre-9/11. September 9th. You have 2 days to prevent 9/11 naked. Nothing. It's New York. Just start walking casually and walk like you know exactly where you are going and have something to do. The majority of people are not going to want to interact with you anyway. When the police come up, walk right up to them and ask for some clothes and some help. Explain it away as a sex thing that went badly, i.e., was with a prostitute in a van, they took off with your clothes. Caveat, if it happens to be on or just after a particular day in September, you're probably not going to be the most interesting thing to happen that day. Yup. I was in Times Square a few years ago and I am pretty sure I actually did see a naked or nearly naked man walking down the street. Also saw someone dressed like a horse in Central Park. You know how many people said anything to either person? No one. Not a soul said a word. Seriously. And then go buy as much Bitcoin as you can. I'd probably just cry. Then look in the mirror and cry some more. I would start with your clothes. Give them to me now. I would have gone with wash day, nothing clean. I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. Just start with I'm from the future, that way you get a straitjacket problem solved. 2001 Times Square, I doubt anyone would care or notice. Depends on if this happens before or after September 11th, 2001. I've been to Times Square multiple times. A naked man suddenly appearing isn't going to turn that many heads. Well, if I was teleported, surely people would notice my small PP. Like with the blue ball that appears, then pretty sure they would believe me, right? Everyone is focused on the clothing part, and not how dramatic the Terminator entrance is. I'd call 2001, me to wire me some money, then get back home to talk about the next 20 years. I'd been expecting that call, so it wouldn't have been a stretch. Depending on your age, contact yourself and get a copy of your IDSS card. I'd have been 23 in March 2001, don't give them too much info but enough to verify your future version of them. You live separate but connected parallel lives using your knowledge to augment your current timeline's persona. Stand outside of the TRL window. This needs more upvotes. Carson. Hey Carson. Look at my package, Carson. Standing outside the TRL window is a regret I have. I stood outside the window on August 11th, 2001. The cast of American Pie happened to be there, which at the time I thought was funny because Tara Reid and Carson Daly had had a recent breakup. It was very boring and absurdly hot outside. A complete waste of time. I was showing English tourists around and should have taken them to the WTC instead of that stupid TRL window. It was just too hot and I didn't want to take the subway. I still feel bad, because they had asked to do it. Joke's on you. I am a stoned homeless person. You probably can't afford teleportation then. I just pick up a guitar. Beat me to it. Say something really smart like, you have fingertips but not toe tips, yet you can tiptoe but you can't tip finger. But I thought we did have toe tips, the phrase, from the top of my head to the tip of my toes. Shout woo, spring break. You won't believe the night I've just had. Spare some underwear. I'd want them to believe I'm a stoned homeless person so they would leave me alone. This was my thought. No one would bat an eye at a naked homeless guy in New York City. Random naked homeless guy who's probably harmless is much better than naked insane homeless guy who ran up to yell at me about how he's actually a time traveler. Apathy is your friend here. As long as you don't bother anyone, you won't become their problem, and you'll be good. I think the giant wall of reality bending, asphalt melting energy would do that for me. Just say I got mugged. Help that stoned homeless person took my clothes. Right? This is the only answer. I wouldn't. A stoned homeless person is likely to end up in rehab or detox, which is infinitely preferable to jail or a mental institution in such a situation. Ergo, if cops think I'm just homeless and stoned out of my mind, I will encourage them to keep believing it. The cops would in no way take you to a mental institution for being naked in Times Square, and while you might be arrested, you'd be let out pretty quickly. That type of shit is far from the worst shit they've seen. You say, shit. That must have been a seriously good party. Everyone laughs and you go on to make serious moves on Bitcoin. I think 2001 you can even make good buys on Google and Amazon as well. This is 8 years before Bitcoin, but you could try Apple shares in the interim. Would be a while before Bitcoin even exists. You have like 7 years to burn at least, and it'll still be worth nothing for a good while. Go find a cop, tell them a story about how someone robbed me at gunpoint and took all my clothes and ask for something to wear. As a chick, I'm pretty sure I could say I was drugged and abandoned or something. I could easily pull that card. The problem would be if the police started trying to investigate what happened and you had no story to hack you up. Yeah, my answer was going to be some piece of radical feminist performance art. Just because I'm naked doesn't mean you can touch on me. And then maybe get arrested and fined for public indecency. And then contact my 11-year-old self and freak her TF out, but also prevent her from making some big mistakes a few years later. Hide out in her bedroom and get a job in town as a cocktail waitress. Put all my money into Amazon and Google stock. And then something prevent 9/11. Have Jeffrey Epstein dealt with. Sky's the limit from there, baby. I'm not a stoned homeless person. Then I find my way to a shelter, get some clothes and food like a stoned homeless person, and try to remember my phone number from 20 years ago. My buddy and I actually have a protocol and code phrase for this sort of thing, so once I make contact with him and myself, I should be in pretty good shape. Sure, it'll mean an extra mouth to feed, and problems with identity, but with my knowledge of the future, things will go a lot better the second time around. I'll know not to watch Tenet, for one thing. I'm really curious about your protocol. When did you make it? What's in it? Public embarrassment and a couple of days in jail are a small price to pay for not ever watching Tenet. Try to send my parents a letter, telling them to invest stock in GameStop in a thing called Bitcoin. I mean, you have 19 years before GameStop, and a few years before Bitcoin, better just to say invest in Apple. Kill someone and steal their leather jacket. Kill someone and steal their leather jacket. And boots, and motorcycle. It's Times Square, you might be ignored. Not if you're a woman. I just steal the naked cowboy's hat and start taking pics with people for $. After about 20 minutes, when I have at least $600, I wander over to Fifth Avenue and buy some nice threads. I then head to whatever club is coolest and start assembling a posse of badasses to stop 9/11. What's your selection criteria for selecting your badasses? Can't change the past or it changes the future. Best option is get crazy rich from sports bets and Bitcoin and don't mess with the timeline. I'm not going to lie. If put in this situation, I wouldn't bother with trying to stop 9/11. Before my departure, I'd look up past winning Powerball numbers, beg for $2, and then go find myself. Yeah, I don't even think you can stop 9/11, or at least partially, without ruining your life. Come with me if you want to live. I'd F about any of those people. I'm running back to California to warn my dad to never go to the party he got shot and killed at. I'm sorry for your loss. Wait till you hear about COVID-19. Oh shit, imagine being sent back in time and showing up in one of the most crowded parts of New York and starting the plague 20 years earlier. Then again, No social media, so maybe the whole anti-mask thing won't ever take off as much? Well, I'd run as fast as I can to a laundromat and steal clothes there. I'd predict 9/11, but there'd be nothing I could do to stop it. I guess considering this is when the towers were still there, I could do some pre-motive investigating and see which conspiracy theory has merit. 'Cause it's definitely one of them. Then I would go to Australia and tell Steve Irwin to protect his heart if he goes near a stingray. Then probably just go get tickets to a Linkin Park concert. I always wanted to see them before Chester killed himself. I'd say Alice in Chains too, but that would have been very soon before Lainey Staley died of a heroin overdose, so that probably would have been sad too. I know I'm not the DM or anything, but as someone with an intimate knowledge of Times Square in 2001, you're not finding a laundromat or making it to the nearest one without getting stopped by the cops before you get to it. The Steve Irwin comment really hits home. Miss him a lot. Pre or post 9/11? Important for context. I would start running and screaming facts about these 20 years in Spanish. Then I will wait 5-10 years until Crazy Spanish Nudist becomes popular on YouTube. People will go crazy when everything I said becomes real. Considering YouTube was first rolled out in 2005, maybe you should make its invention one of your facts to scream out LMAO. You'd have to hope that some tourist has their camcorder out, because no one had video recording cameras in their phones in 2001. What month in 2001? Because I might just be able to prevent a pretty famous tragedy in 2001, just down the street from Times Square. That would also prove I'm not a homeless stoner. And 3,000 plus may still be alive. 3,000 birds, one stone. Actually, preventing the 9/11 terrorist attacks are, theoretically, impossible. Because then, without 9/11, you'd have virtually no reason to stop it since it never happened. But you had to have stopped it for it never to happen. It's called the grandfather paradox, where if you were to go back in time and kill your grandparents' parents, you'd cease to exist, thus meaning they never die, thus meaning you exist, thus meaning they die. You get the point. I need yo clothes, yo boots, and yo metacycle.